Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good. So last time we ran into some technical difficulties with the sound, part two. And I think where we left off, you were talking about Rockwell.
Okay.
And the open mic that you were doing over there.
Yeah, so at Rockwell, and I think so. First, it started I knew one of the bartenders there, and she had reached out to me, wondering. She had talked to the owner, wanted to start an open mic, so she knew that I was involved in the open mic that EJ was throwing at the cellar door. So she reached out to me, and seeing if we wanted to start another open mic up at Rockwell. I reached out to EJ. EJ kind of expressed to me that he was a little burned out and he didn't want to do it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Luckily, JB Dunn, he let me borrow his sound gear, and it kind of took off from there. And it was great. It kind of got my feet wet. It kind of introduced me to a lot of the kind of solo artists. Before, prior to that, playing in a band, something we were talking about, but playing in a band and then solo artists, it's almost two different worlds, two different groups of people. So it was awesome to hear these solo artists that were really, really good. And the thing that benefited me too, because at the beginning of the open mic, I would sing a couple songs. That's when I started playing solo acoustic as well. So that open mic, I remember it vividly. I was like, I really should learn how to, get enough materials together, get enough covers together so I could play some acoustic solo gigs. So that open mic was also my foot in the door to the whole acoustic solo cover, for that matter, too, cover scene, which was amazing. It was a great open mic. The owners, hence the name. Talk to the owner. Just music is a big theme for him. He actually builds guitars. The owner of Rockwell Brewery.
Way.
Yeah, he builds guitar. He makes custom guitars. A lot of his what are those tap levers? He has like guitar kind of. So he was really a huge music fan. And they had just opened. So if I'm not mistaken, like the open mic there was also their kind of foot in the door. Now they have another location where they bring in, national acts and big acts. So that was kind of their foot in the door to the whole music scene. So that it was a lot of firsts for everybody.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was really, really cool. We did have an occasional band here and there, but it's just when you're running an open mic, to do an open mic that accommodates a band, there's a lot of moving parts. You got to have a drum set that you bring up there. You got to have sufficient sound. A lot of times you got to have amps and stuff. But when you're just doing a easy acoustic open mic, all you need is maybe a couple stands, a couple mics, and something to project the vocals and amplify the guitar. So it's a pretty easy setup. So
yeah, I remember you had your
my boss.
Little
that thing cranks. I still use it to this day. And I was looking for, because everybody uses the Fishman. The Fishman has a great combo amp where you can kind of all in one. You plug in your microphone, you plug in your guitar, and it has separate EQs for everything. So I went to Making Music and I was looking for the Fishman. They didn't have the Fishman, but they had this Boss one. I was like, I'm an impulse buyer, so I don't have time to shop around. I mean, what they had, was enough for what I needed to do, and I've been using it ever since. I use it for gigs to this day. So
yeah, cool. I think it's stood the test of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So like you were mentioning about solo artists, people like myself, I was in bands many years.
Yeah.
Creating music with bands.
Yeah.
I rarely created music on my own.
Yeah.
Secretly I was, but like I never really showed it. It wasn't a thing that I was showing people. But it happened to fall when you were doing this open mic thing so perfectly aligned that like after 12 years of working with bands and co-creating with bands and writing music that way, to then
you have
an outlet, you have a place to be like, oh, this dream that you've had, now you can come do it. And I know that like, you know, that boss, it had Bluetooth, it had a little,
it was great. It was great. And you know, and that, you know, it really, when I started doing Cellar Door, it really I felt like it kind of established itself as a thing. Mm. And then I don't know, it's hard because I guess I wasn't on the scene, and you can probably speak to the same thing. It was hard I felt like maybe there wasn't many outlets because there was a lot of support. I feel like Frederick was almost like a jam band town. You had bands like Litz, you had bands like even Jack Funk. Those were like the two major bands. I mean, The Mood was another big name in Frederick for a long time as well. But, you know, I felt like a lot of the musicians and then you had the open jam that was happening over at Old Town.
Right.
I feel like there wasn't too many. I'm just trying to think, was there really outlets because all of the other open mics, because when I first moved into town, you had Cafe Nola had an open mic that JB used to run. And then EJ ran like 3 open mics. I think he had one at Bushwallers, and then he had the other at Cellar Door. All of those open mics, to me, seemed to cater to bands. They were, and which doesn't make sense. It's a lot easier to just get solo artists in and have, you know, one person easy setup, no headaches, no trying to figure out how to mix the sound or whatever. But I think maybe just because maybe the culture in Frederick was more band oriented, so it just seemed like it seemed like at that point when I was running the Rockwell and then went over to Cellar Door, it like a whole group of solo artists were just kind of uncovered and kind of, to me, again, it could have been going on and I just didn't know about it, sure. But you know.
But I think for the time that it was like, I mean, it was Craigslist days, you know, like sure, Instagram was a thing, but we didn't have enough. At least this is
enough reach,
enough confidence, even to like put yourself out there as a solo artist, and like, you know, seeing everybody else do this, it was just like, oh, now here's an opportunity where we can do that. That's speaking from my experience.
That's a good point, because you know, nowadays you open up your phone, you got, you know, every other scroll is somebody with a guitar singing a nice song. But to your point, it wasn't. You know, that example of I can do this wasn't really there, you know? So it's funny how all of these different factors kind of influence basically a whole culture of a town. You know, so yeah, that's a good point. That's an excellent point.
I mean, I was 27, you know, when I came across it, maybe 28 when I came across your open mic and was like, oh, I'm going to go do this as a solo artist. And then shit, there's other people doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that was very, very cool to see.
And even people kind of, because, you know, your style was you had your instrumentals on your phone, we'd plug you in. And even that wasn't a far-fetched idea. You know what I mean? Even that wasn't something that was, you know, you had people doing exactly that as well. They might have been rapping, they might have been doing a different genre or a different style, but it was still the same idea. And mixing again goes that little thing. That thing had like highs, lows.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, especially you're bringing instrumentals, and that's a tough thing to do. I mean, shout out to the boss for that one. That's a like, had I had a regular PA system that was geared toward just doing vocals, it would have sounded so hollow in the middle. And that's hard because I've tried to do, I've done sound for gigs where people have had their instrumentals, and I'm just trying to run them through the board that's mostly there for vocals, and it takes so much. Like that little thing was like a little boom box made. And we were plugging it in. We had the aux and the Bluetooth connection. That thing. I mean, I'm speaking in past tense, but it still is a phenomenal tool and a phenomenal instrument. So.
Yeah, because you took that, and I think the timeline's right, where you were doing the open mic and then you started doing the Sully showcase.
Yes.
Over at NOLA.
Yeah.
You took that
to NOLA. It was just an easier setup, and it was like, and now the reason, so the way that the setup was at Cellar Door, the way that the setup was supposed to be was I was supposed to plug my system into the house system so it can go over all the speakers in there. But after having week after week of technical difficulties of not being able to make that, because, while everybody else, I'm learning as well. I never did sound before. And while I just said, screw it, I'm not dealing with it, because I'm like, I would run it. And I remember the first few times when I was just running it by itself, and it would be, there were times when I thought it was connected to the system because it was just bumping in every nook and cranny in the place, and it wasn't. And I'm like, this thing wasn't even on. The house system wasn't even on. And it's like, wow. So that thing really, really, and then, when I went over to Cafe NOLA, Cafe NOLA's, they have a really, really old board. And then you have feedback issues, all kinds of things. You have monitors that got, now they've upgraded a lot of their equipment. But at the time, it was, for somebody who was a novice as far as sound was concerned, it was just easy to just plug everything into there, especially if you're talking about a solo artist. Oh, I got one mic, boom, we do the EQ. Hey, you want some reverb? Reverb. You know what I'm saying? It was that simple.
Very intuitive. Yeah, but that was cool, because then I brought my my backtracks and performed there, and same with Daryltron. Daryltron came, he did his backtracks.
That was about the same time when Daryltron started really making some noise in town. And his music is groove heavy, bottom-end heavy, and to be able to get that low end, that clear low end, that's a phenomenal piece of equipment there. So.
Yeah, cool. That thing's awesome, that boss. So from NOLA, you did the showcases.
There's the showcases, yeah. So
and what comes after that? Like, what came after that as far as your?
Well, I was doing Sully showcases, and those were I were running those once a month. So this is around the time when things started to open back up. A lot of Cafe NOLA is a beacon in Frederick as far as live music is concerned.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out to Cafe NOLA. So I don't know if they were, so at the time, I believe that they were probably one of the first places to start music back. And I was always in there, and I think Aaron had came over from the manager over at Cafe NOLA. She had came over from, this is when Guido shut down, so she had come from Guido's. She started running Cafe NOLA, and we were just having a conversation, and I'm like, "Are you guys open to start music back?" And she was like, "Yeah, we were just having that conversation." And she was like, um, "We don't know if we're going to be able to find people to run it, because back before COVID, they had a person that was booking, answering emails, or organizing the shows and things like that." And I was like, well, I'll throw. I'm like, and for me, it was like I get to throw my own shows now. So I was throwing showcase shows. I was also throwing Marshall Fuzz, my band shows, and that I was like a kid in a candy store, and the schedule was wide open because people didn't know that music was coming back. So for me, it was a perfect opportunity. For them, I'd like to think I was helpful in getting their music, jump starting their music back.
Big time.
And they, it was just another one of those circumstances where everything was happening at the right time. And thankfully, I was there to be of service, and help the music scene out in this town. But those were great too, because now, and I had a whole pool of people from the open mics. So, I didn't really have to reach outside of, and the people were contacting me once they heard it was going on. People were contacting me. So I didn't really have to bend over backwards to find the talent to fill up these slots, because I had a nice pool of solo artists. And that's why I wanted to do a solo artist. Was like, okay, this is easy. I can give people, I think I was giving people like 30-minute, 35-minute slots. I can fit a bunch of people on the bill. I didn't have to worry about turnover time and anything like that. It would be 5 minutes, you're plugged in. Can you hear yourself? Boom, let's go. And I had a whole bunch of people to choose from. And it was an opportunity to take those open micers to the next level of paid gig.
Yeah, at a bar.
Night. Paid gig. So at a bar, not having to rush in and to sign up before a particular time.
Yeah.
So it was great. So and then and of course, a lot of people have expressed how thankful they are to me, but I'm also thankful for people be making themselves available when I call, it's to the point, I was able to, I had developed a rapport with so many artists in town. And it was the way that I would come up with concepts was such a organic and spiritual process. I'd be just kind of daydreaming, and I'm like, oh my God, what if I did this, that, and this? And the thing, and one of the things that I had recognized very, very early and kind of became my motto is that I stopped very quickly being concerned about genre. To me, it was about you bring your friends, you bring your friends, you bring your friends. Oh, we all know each other, big party. Like I was approaching it like I'm inviting some friends over to the house. Oh, you know how to play. Oh, you know how to play. Okay, you play in this time. And it was a party, a social thing. I still to this day think that genre specific shows are, for the most part, a waste of time, because nobody, especially nowadays, nobody listens to one genre of music.
Yeah.
The same person that's singing along to Metallica is going to be singing along to Snoop Dogg. So a lot of promoters put a lot of thought and a lot of energy when they're putting shows together to, oh no, we're looking for a punk band for this show. And then genres nowadays also kind of spill over. Most of the music that you hear, unless you put it in a genre, it probably won't automatically fit in the genre. you got to stuff it in.
It's like
it's like somebody trying to stuff their foot in a shoe that's too small for them. It's so I never really. It was such a fun process to me. Like I'd be sitting here and I'd have a conversation. Somebody would. This is how I would do it. Somebody would contact me and say, "Hey, you think you can get me on one of your shows?" And then that'll be the spark. I'm like, all right, who does this person's friends know? Who's this person? Oh, you know what? Those two, let's get this person to go. And I'll start building from there. I would let the show evolve into what it is meant to evolve into, instead of like approaching it from like with any kind of preconceived ideas or direction. Yeah. I'll have a show with Young Skittles, Deltron, you, Evan Delsack, and it would be a party. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it wouldn't be nobody would be like, I don't like this genre. What's going on? Yeah. Everybody, it would be a multi. A multi-leveled experience, and it would just be a case. And a lot of times these shows will materialize just based on availability. I'm like, okay, so-and-so called out. So-and-so's been hitting me up. Let me hit them up. And then there was always.
That's the universe, right?
Yes, it was always a theme. The theme didn't come from me. The theme would come from the show. And it was easy. It was never difficult to see the flow of the show. It was never difficult. I've put some genres together. Like I've had shows start off acoustic love songs and end up metal screaming in your face shows. And it flowed. It never did not flow. So, music is music. When we try to, I think we do ourselves a huge disservice when we try to kind of tie music down to a particular vibe,
And that I feel like that party's still going that you started.
Yeah, well,
there's a lot of people, like, even though you're not putting on Sully showcases much anymore, but like you're still, that what you did initially there kind of transpired into this beautiful network. I would have never met Tony.
Yep.
I would have never met Daryl Tron.
Yep.
And then everybody that you've had,
they kind of went off and did their own thing, didn't they? And you had places like the Sketchy Shed. They kind of emerged. Didn't they do their last show or something like that a couple weeks ago or something?
I think so. For the time being,
places like the Sketchy Shed. There was for a short period of time off of East Patrick Street over by the fairgrounds, right across the street. I think they were doing shows out of their house that they were renting. That used to be our because Brad rented there when we first started. When he first joined Marshall Fuzz, that used to be our practice spot. But they were doing shows there, and then everybody's kind of branched out and kind of taking this, the seed or the vibe and taking it wherever it takes them, which is cool, It's
really, really cool. It really kind of brought this community together. I mean, I still think of Cafe Nola as a house.
Yeah,
that it's home.
Yeah,
it's home.
Yeah,
and everybody goes there. They know each other.
Yeah,
and that's really thanks to the connection of music, which you had such a big part of for this community.
Yeah. Well, that was, and I'm glad you say that, because that was my goal. That was really the part, the role. I mean, obviously you don't know what roles you're meant to play, but from what I imagined my role to be, that was kind of the epitome of it. So I consider myself lucky and blessed to have been able to play that role in this town. So,
did that inspire like getting more gigs for Marshall Fuzz? Because like really hit the paint hard.
Yeah, and the last couple of years, it did. We started playing covers, which kind of opened up a whole market, a whole area for us. So I just started reaching out to places. I still, I kind of I injured my neck early this year. So I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and I'm also trying to raise my business from the ground. So I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but I still haven't figured out how that's all gonna go. But I see so many possibilities.
But you made a lot of ideas come true. Like you were working with Marshall, you're doing this Marshall Fuzz, you're doing the covers, you have all these ideas just coming to you, and then you implement them. And we did shows in
all of 5 hours away. Yeah. We driving. Yeah.
Making it happen.
And the thing and goes back to what we were talking about, how finding those musicians that are willing to treat it not even like a job, not even an obligation. I don't want to call it like a calling.
It's a side quest in a
way. It's a mission to take music. I don't have to. I'm lucky to know musicians that I don't have to convince to get in a car and drive for a couple hours to go play a gig. If they're available, they would have. The musicians that I know would happily oblige. And there was a time where that wasn't the case. And when that wasn't the case, I wanted so bad to find and know musicians that are that serious about their music. And today I can look back and say, I know those musicians. I found those musicians. And there are probably more of them out there, but at the time I was like, oh man, is it even, am I the only one? But obviously you're not I wasn't the only one, but I don't know where I'm still like right now, like once I get over this hump, which, thankfully I'm getting better and better every day, things are moving along in the right direction. But once I get back on task as far as booking shows and stuff are concerned, my next goal for the band is to move in a direction of making it a substantial source of income. Now, the way that I envision doing that is taking more high dollar gigs, weddings, corporate gigs, and things like that. Now, the cool part about that is that, back to what we were talking about when playing covers, is that the biggest apprehension that I had with playing covers, and what a lot of authentic musicians have with playing covers, is that it's not authentic. It's not genuine. They're trying to imitate someone else. But because I play with a group of musicians that are able to make those songs our own and to perform those songs in such an interesting and unique way, I don't feel that's opened up any type of, there's no questions of authenticity that happen when we plug in our instruments and we play cover gigs. We are giving the audience a familiar twist to something new. Yeah. Yes, it's something current, something that they haven't heard before.
Yeah.
So it to me, I think it falls right in line with authenticity. So that being said, there's no hesitation as far as taking those quote unquote not genuine gigs, those or being in a quote unquote cover band. I don't feel any type of I don't feel like I'm compromising my unique artistry or creativity by doing that, because it's when we're learning these songs, we kind of we basically get them to the point where we know the songs, and then we take it from there.
Right.
We're not concerned about, oh, he did 2 hits on this line, and oh, this is the solo note for note.
It's a rough
outline. Yep.
Yeah.
So that being said, I think that we have something really, really unique to offer that market where people are looking for maybe a tribute band or somebody that's playing note for a wedding band. These are all things that musicians look like. You're in a wedding band.
Yeah.
I feel like we can bring some organic creativity to a scene that doesn't have it. And by default, I think that it's possible for us to dominate a scene like that. So that's the direction that I would like to take our band. And quite honestly, make some money, just let's make some money, and that's, we don't like to, we think that works in contrary to our principles. It doesn't, because we got to be able to put roofs over our heads and pay. And if we're offering something to the market that's unique, we deserve to get paid for it.
Yeah, the gigs that you've set up, that I've been a part of, have helped me through some pretty substantial times.
Absolutely.
when I needed a little bit of money.
And the thing is, it doesn't involve doing something that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cool part.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, it's going to be fun too.
Yeah.
So I don't have to wear this damn suit, and, we're not wearing these shiny, it's like, I feel like I found a place where it can be monetized without compromising our creativity and our.
Yeah, because you still write.
Yeah, I do. I haven't written in a long time, but I do have a batch of songs that I'm working on. But I am going to get back to writing. I've been playing a lot just by myself and in my room, just because dealing with this injury, I wasn't able to play. So that's kind of how I've been gauging my improvement by picking up the guitar and playing. But it's also that scare of, through my mind, I'm thinking, I'm thinking about the possibility of not being able to play guitar anymore. Now it's almost like a second birth, where I'm having a second opportunity to do this thing I love. So now I'm like, I need to start writing more. I need to start. Once I get the clear, and I'm slowly getting up there, but I have a feeling that it's going to be music wise. I'm not holding back on anything. Everything is on the table. Everything is a possibility, and I'm treating it like it can be gone, because I know what it feels like for that possibility to be there, of it not being in my life anymore. So
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
And not taking it for granted.
With your the navigating this, like it's a band. It's there's people involved. You're doing all this stuff. You're reaching out to places. You're showing up at the gigs. You're learning songs. You're doing all these things. You're trying to make this thing a product that is enjoyable for the listener, enjoyable for yourself, and can make some money. How has this translated into your Reps and Sweat business?
Well, it's all about, I believe that if you genuinely follow your purpose, monetization will follow it. I think that if you jump through hoops to just chase the money, you're going to miss out on the money and the calling and the purpose. I think that you have to, now it takes a little bit longer. There can be some sidetracks. There can be some distractions. But from my life experience, I have never followed my gut and followed my purpose and have never regretted it. It has always panned out greater than what I thought it would pan out to. The compromises that seemed like might be never became. There was never a time where I was living out of a backpack and was homeless. There was never a time when you know, I was trying to figure out if my kids can't eat. So all of those things that we think that we need to compromise for are, what I'm realizing, are lies. It's not true. And I think that you can follow your genuine, unique creativity and still get the gold at the end of the rainbow. You don't have to compromise on. As a matter of fact, I believe that you shouldn't compromise, and I believe that when you don't compromise, there's going to be a bigger pot of gold waiting for you at the other end of that rainbow. So it only makes sense to let your purpose guide you. Let your purpose take you to there. Do what you got to do to make a couple dollars here, make a couple dollars there, keep it all going, but don't lose sight of what your purpose is, and stay true to yourself, stay true to the people that you serve, and you can't go wrong. That is a formula. That is a principle of life. We look in nature. When nature goes against, does not working in harmony with itself, things mess up. We're the same thing. We need to go with the flow. The tree, the wind blows the pollen to the next plant, the bees take care. Everything flows. Is when we put a big wall in front of the tree that blocks the pollen, when we try to impose something different than what the flow is, that's when the current gets broken up. That's when things get messed up. So we have to stay in tune with the natural flow of our spirit. And there's no other option. It will, and it should, and it's going to lead you in a prosperous direction. Life is about struggle, but life is about abundance. Life promises us abundance if we follow the flow of it. It's when we don't follow the flow, that's when we don't get that. We don't get the prize, if you want to call it that. But there's no other way. There's no other way. And like, I'm so clear about that like, I've seen the proof. I know I've seen the proof. I'm living the proof that there's no question that I need to stay true to the music. I need to stay true to the people, to my bandmates. I need to stay true. I need to work hard. There's no question about that. So there's no, I don't know if you want to call it a shortcut, because I think that the long way, if you want to call it that, is the shortcut. When you take shortcuts, you actually end up adding on to your trip. It's like, I need to go to such and such place, and the GPS says take a left, and I think I'm outsmarting the GPS. I take a right, and there's a traffic jam on the right. The GPS knew that there was a traffic jam off to the right and told us to take a left, but I think that I can outsmart the GPS. I think that I can outsmart life. When you try to outsmart life, you outsmart yourself.
So I'm sure in all of this, you've approached moments where your ideas, your dream, there's a bit of doubt that comes with it.
Yes.
What do you do with that doubt?
With doubt, honesty. Honesty is the first step to anything. When we doubt is when we allow untruths. We allow falsehood to infest our thinking. That's what doubt. Doubt was when somebody says, I can't do something. Is that true though? It's not true. You have to have your evidence ready. Look at the evidence. Look at your past. Look at what someone else is doing. Is your doubts rooted? Are your doubts rooted in truth, or is it rooted in falsehood? So, yes, I might feel the doubts for that split second, but you can't let that doubt affect your actions. Your actions have to follow truth. And the truth of the matter is, whatever it is that I'm doubting, there's plenty of evidence that tells me to the contrary, that tells me that it's possible, that tells me that I can do it. So I might be feeling this way right now, but that's not going to stop me from continuing to moving down the path that I know and I have evidence for that it's going to take me to where I want to be. So yeah, you can't control how you feel. You can only control what you do. And if you base your actions on what you know, then that's going to automatically improve how you feel. When your actions are following truth, then your feelings are going to eventually fall. So that doubt is only going to last for that split second, or that maybe that day, that half a day that is there. And then you end up bouncing back after you look. Oh, life sucks. Does life really suck? We got the sun shining outside. We got the birds chirping over here to the left. I just got a phone call from my homie. I got this music. Does life really suck? Yeah. The doubt only simmers and perpetuates when you close your mind, you close your eyes to the truth. If you let that truth in, the truth will rule and it'll get you over anything. So
with that truth, where are you at with your reps and sweat? How are things going on that?
It's going great. It's been a spiritual transition for me. And speaking of all of those doubts, what has been stopping me from making the moves that I need to make in order to make this, I could have made this thing successful years ago, but I let the doubts slow my path. I just did a live video this morning talking about expectations. We're not going to do anything more than what we expect to do. So we have to shape our expectations. We have to base them in truth. And when we base our expectations in truth, we will come to the conclusion and our expectations will become things that favor us, because life is favoring us right now. The fact that when I inhale and that oxygen goes into my lungs, and I exhale and I can stand up and walk, and that means that life is favoring me right now. So anything less than that, how can I expect life not to favor me when it's favoring me right now? Wow. How can I expect? So again, it goes back to the truth. When we look at the truth and understand that we are everything that we need to be to become better, or to become what we want to become, we have everything that we need to get what we want, to do what we want. When we understand that, then our expectations change. There's no other choice but for it to be successful. And it's awesome that you just mentioned it, because I just kind of had this breakthrough. We're talking Sunday. And I'll tell you specifically what it boiled down to. The dilemma is finding leads, finding people to come through the door, finding people to come try out a class. And probably Friday, the idea came to my mind. I'm like, wait a minute. I have thousands of friends on Facebook. Most of these people I have sat down and had actual conversations with. They're not people that I'm kind of trolled out. And these are people that I actually know. I've spent at least a decade in this area cultivating my reputation. I've done and served this community for at least a decade. I have something that's beneficial for my community. I need to tell these people about it. And the thing is that we do it with the music. We do it with the music. We get bashful. We make one post. We do this. We don't put it out. You have something. You know you have something. We need to tell people about it. So I decided this weekend, I'm like, I need to message everybody on my Facebook list. And right now, I've been messaging people 50 a day since Monday. I've set up 8 appointments of people coming in. 3 of them are definitely going to sign up. And I haven't even scratched the surface of my whole friends list.
Wow.
So it's those doubts and you see, I let doubt hold me back from my destiny, when the truth of the matter was these people are happy to hear from me. And that was what the truth. And I was going through the list because the first thing I was promoting was my women's class. I'm going through the list, and you pull up. You hit somebody, you hit Messenger, you see conversations that you might have had 2 years ago. A lot of these women have reached out to me prior asking about a self-defense class. There are even women that I just reached out to this week that I was talked through self-defense situations. So my point is that I did the work. I laid down the foundation of what it is that I want to do. Now I need to be confident in that foundation that I laid down, and I do, and I have something that are going to benefit people. And when you have something that benefits people, you're not offended if they don't like. First of all, nobody has said no, don't ever text me. That those fears, those doubts, those voices that happen, never. That's not true. Again, it's false. Nobody said don't. Why are you messaging? No, nobody. I've gotten the warmest, the warmest responses. And when you let those doubts can hold you back from a lot of different things. And it's all about what you expect. If you knew that whatever you're endeavoring on was 100% going to be successful, what would you do? Now, and this is what expectations is about. Now, what if I told you that everything that you want to do is very possible, and if you do the work to get it done, it is probable? That's closest. That's almost inches, centimeters away from guaranteed. It's almost guaranteed, unless you walk out of the door and get struck by lightning, which is a possibility. You walk out the door, get struck by lightning. It is that much guaranteed. If you go to the gym 3 times a week and you eat a good diet, in 6 months, you're going to have a body that you're proud of. That's the formula. It doesn't, when you put a formula, when you put a principle in place, the principle doesn't say, no, I don't like you. I'm not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work for you. Okay, bring him over. No, the principle works across the board. So if we are applying the right principles in our lives, we're doing the work, we're serving the people, we are moving in our purpose, we're following our calling, When we're doing all of those good things, those are principles of the way that the universe functions. The universe has no other choice but to produce the results that we're looking for. And if we're doubting, age of the internet, some artist they did it. This person just did that. This person's touring around the world. They got the same 24 hours in a day that you have. A lot of times, the art that you're producing might even sound better, without bias. A lot of times it sounds better. There's no difference. There's your proof.
So I know, like, I've had songs over the years that I've made. I listened to them. And I've spent so much time working on them that then I'm like, this is trash. That's trash. And I just put it away. And then a couple years go by and I click on it again. I'm like, what is this one? I click it, open it, listen to it. And I'm like, this is incredible. You almost forgive yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
But that doubt almost has its own power of, like, you set it away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you come back and you're like, that's exactly, now is the exact time it's supposed to be happening.
Well, I think we have to look at, I was watching an interview with John Mayer, and he was talking about how he said he's at the point right now that he doesn't care if he likes it or not. When you take your craft and you put it in the context of service, your thought process ends up being, what if this is the song that pulls somebody off of a ledge? What if this is the song that makes these two people fall in love? Who am I to deny somebody access to something that would help them over the hump? That's when you put it in context of take yourself out of it. And the thing is, I think that the reason why people get stuck in their head so much is they get over obsessed with themselves, how I feel. The quickest way to get over depression, that's not clinical, of course, but the quickest way to get over depression is figure out how you can help somebody else. That's when a human being feels on top of the world. When people start just inward focus. And you do have to inward focus, but you inward focus to put it in context of everything that's happening around you. How can what I have going on service the people that's around me? It's and it goes back to what John Mayer was saying. He was like, it's not whether he likes the song or not. Is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Is it in the right key? Is it on beat? Is something wrong with the solo? No. Let's put it out. Put it out. Put it out. And like you said, it goes, and that experience was you looking at a piece of art without the self-absorption and without the self-loathing going on, and you were able to take yourself out of the art and become somebody and put yourself on the side of the person that's being benefited from the art, and you saw benefit in that art.
Wow. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Take yourself out of it. Look at it.
It's service. It's all about service. We're not lone wolves. We are communal beings. A person will literally die if you put them in a room by themselves for a long period of time. They'll literally die. We fuel off of our surroundings. We fuel off of the next person's vibe. So the more we plug into that, the better off you're taking. When you're serving a group of people, you're in essence evoking their power and their energy. It's like if you have somebody, you have these great figures that have transcended even their own existence, like a Martin Luther King. You got people that have never seen Martin Luther King before in their life, and if anybody says something wrong about him, they will stand on top of the mountain and say, no, you can't say that about him. That's power. It's not power because he did for himself. It's power because he served, and his service transcended his lifetime, his children's lifetime. So when you plug into the collective energy of life, when you concern yourself with everything that's going on around you, when you are willing to serve the things that are around you, that things around you are going to be more than happy to serve you. That's how it works.
That's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
Could you give us, before we wrap up here, could you give us just a rundown of what your Reps and Sweat is?
Yes. So, Reps and Sweat, what we do is we combine fitness, kickboxing, and martial arts. The way that the classes are set up, they're designed to keep you moving for the whole hour. And my philosophy is I believe in repetition. A lot of times when you go to a martial arts school, they try to mask the repetitions. I encourage my students to embrace the monotony and embrace the boredom and find wonder within the boredom. When you're able to find wonder in doing the same thing over and over again, that's where the real spiritual and that's where the real connection happens. So that's my regular program. My women's program, I put it all in context of self-defense. So. And then I also have a Facebook group. It's called All Things Women Self-Defense. That's on Facebook. I'm posting self-defense tips daily for women. And I'm like my thing since I started the women's class is I am committed to making martial arts accessible to the people I believe need it the most. Those are the people that have been, bullied, that are smaller, women, children, and because what I realized in the martial arts industry is that a lot of these gyms are intimidating for these type of people, and for me, it was pointless to not be able to take my expertise to the people who need it the most.
So you do kids classes?
I do kids classes as well. Yeah.
Cool. And we'll put the Instagram down below.
Yeah, I'll send you that. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, Suli, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Peace.